Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be dialing in from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Caroline Chapin, Channel Marketing Manager at Autotask, and I'll be your host for today's webinar titled Unleash the Power of File Sync and Share with the latest release of Autotask Workplace. Autotask Workplace is also known as AWP. Some of you, I'm sure, have already heard it referenced that way. It's Autotask's enterprise file sync and share solution, and this is a very exciting time to be a user of this service because we just had a significant update to the product, and this is why we're all here today. We're going to be hearing from our product manager who's going to take you through all the significant enhancements that have been made to the service. The target audience for this webinar is our direct legacy Soonr customers who are now direct customers of Autotask Workplace, or any of our partners and clients who currently use the Autotask Workplace service would also benefit from viewing this webinar as well. So with that, let's get started for the main reason we're here. It's to learn about our latest release of Autotask Workplace. I'm very pleased to introduce our main presenter for today's webinar, Evan Welch, Product Manager for Autotask Workplace. Evan, over to you. Evan?
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and thank you, Caroline, very much for introducing me. We're going to jump in today with our agenda, go right through this very exciting release of Autotask Workplace. So first, we're going to go through an overview of our changes. We're going to talk about the branding change that you've already seen within Autotask Workplace, some of the new deployment options for rolling out Autotask Workplace or increasing your user base, security around the application, and some new security enhancements we've made. Really exciting news around the mobile applications for both Android and iOS. We're very excited to bring to you some streamlined administration, making it a little bit easier to administer and keep track of security controls, policies within your application. We're then going to talk about the benefits of the release of Autotask Workplace for December of 2016, and then we're going to have question and answers at the very, very end. All right, so first up, what did we change? We have a branding update. So as you'll see on the right, the new login page, we are now fully branded to Autotask Workplace. A lot of you formerly know it as the Soonr application, Soonr Go, Soonr iOS Go. You'll see now everything Workplace agents for mobile devices, desktop, have been rebranded to the Autotask Workplace. So you'll see this on your login page. We've done a lot with service delivery automation, so some of the ability to roll things out, monitor, deploy across your organizations. Some new capabilities we've introduced for the first time, and then some user interface improvements to make it a little bit easier to use, understand, and work through. So we're going to start out first with the branding. So as you'll see on branding, a couple things have changed. Really important note on the single sign-on integrations, online editor integrations. You may have to go through and redeploy these, especially with the web editors. Google Docs, Microsoft, for example, when you click on them the first time, they're going to ask you to re-authenticate just because we did officially change the name over to Autotask Workplace. Automated emails from the system will also be updated, so they will say Autotask Workplace instead of the former Soonr name. For desktop, really exciting, Windows and Mac, both agents are deployed. They have been updated with the latest technology. A lot of really important fixes in there that make the agents a little more stable, work better, and also have the Autotask branding in both the service name and the actual application name. Outlook plugin has also been rebranded, a couple updates in there as well for the Autotask plugin, so you can download that again. All these are available today on the downloads page, which we'll show you in a couple seconds. Workplace Mobile, again, both iOS and Android. We've gotten a lot closer with feature parity on these two applications, so most of the majorly requested features, editing, Scribble, are now available both on iOS and Android. So very exciting news there, and we'll show you a little bit more coming along. You'll see the new login page. So what you'll see here is the new logo, Autotask Workplace. You've probably seen this quite a bit over the past couple months. The Powered by Autotask logo, again, so you know the organization that's powering the Autotask Workplace platform going forward, and the download agent link. Very important. This is where you will find the Mac components, the Windows components, and also the Outlook plugins. So very, very important. Quick note on the iOS mobile application. You will have to go in the Apple Store and download a new application called Autotask Workplace. We cannot change the name of the application's ownership in the Apple Store, so we had to actually make a brand new application. You'll see that the old app will still work for the time being, but to get the new functionality, just go right into the Apple Store and you'll be able to download the Autotask Workplace Mobile. All right, so first thing I'm going to review today, service delivery, customization, and automation. So what we did here is really make it easier to deploy and manage your organizations. Silent member installation, configuration, authentication. So instead of having to go to every single computer or give people an instruction sheet on how to sign in, download their agents, install their agents, we've made the ability for you to do that remotely with configuration options, Active Directory integrations, to allow those to be automatically authenticated back to the service. Also added some really awesome mass device approval. So instead of having to go in and approve every single device or automatically approve every device, you can do it based off known user, Active Directory, information obtained. So you have a little more security on how you approve devices, so you can make it a little bit easier. One of my favorite features, the default workplace folder settings. So you can actually change and customize where that workplace folder is stored on a level across the policy. So you can very easily and very quickly say, I want this rolled out, I want it stored in, C reports or C users, wherever you want on the desktop or the computer. Also added the ability to centrally control the projects to sync. So when somebody initially installs the application on their desktop, they don't have to go in and say sync everything or pick the projects to sync. You can actually preset those projects you want to sync down, so it's consistent across the entire user basis. So go through now and talk about our deployment options. So you can see this is right from the team admin page. We have what's called a key-based authentication. So what this key is, a unique identifier and security means per team that you're able to create to allow authentication to take place remotely. You can do it through Active Directory profiles. You can do it through most RMMs to actually deploy the agent remotely and use the keys to actually authenticate. You'll see here automatic approval to specify domain. So you can actually put in allowed domains where they can automatically approve devices. You can also select individual admins you want to notify. So instead of your entire notification admin team for every single user, maybe only your IT or technology team really needs to know about these approvals. Okay. You can see that right here, and we'll go through this a little bit more within the application towards the end of our session today. A lot of new capabilities were added. The first one, view-only permissions, very, very cool. So what we've done is given the ability for an online view only, and I'm going to show you guys this in a couple seconds. So in the past, if you had access to read-only, you could also download the document, and then it was really out of your control. They could do whatever they wanted with a downloaded document. We've actually separated that out and brought in what's called a read-only, where all they can do is access it right here as you see on my screen. You'll also notice a watermark, which we'll go over a little bit more in a second, so you can see exactly who was viewing it and when. Okay? So here you can see I have this particular document. I can only get to it through the web portal. I cannot download it to my agent. I cannot save it. I cannot get to it in any other way. And what you'll see is when I come in here to the actual document itself, the options to download are gone. I can comment, I can view, can't download, can't interact with it, can't go to previous versions. Okay. We've also separated the reshare and public link permissions. So very, very common request. I wanted to give people the ability to send a document internally. Myself, maybe I have to share something with Caroline, and I want Caroline to be able to share it with her team. I don't want Caroline sending it out to our customers or making it public. So we've now separated those checkboxes so I can do reshare for internal use and public link for external use, and I can separate who can do that and when. I just showed you the watermark, really, really helpful. See who has the document if someone does take a screenshot or try and get it out. It is a security setting. You can turn it on or off. It is not mandatory to use the view-only permission. We've also have the option to disable upgrade notifications. So if you're like a lot of organizations, you want to test out the new agents or test them out in a test environment before you roll them out to your user base. This way, we'll no longer give a notification to the end user, letting them know there's an agent available. You can upgrade, you can test, you can be ready before you deploy them. Full control over not only the workplace folder, which I talked about a little bit, but also the backup path. So if you're utilizing the backup within Autotask Workplace, we're going to allow you to set those backup paths centrally from Autotask Workplace and not have to go to every single PC individually to set them. Okay, so a lot of really awesome automation coming there. And then the list of projects to auto-sync, again, huge time saver. I can set up groups and users and have those projects automatically sync when they get their PCs, when they get a new PC, automatically pick the projects based off the policies and profiles. So to give you an example of the view-only permission and the reshare, you can see here a little bit different interface than you're used to. Down below here, you'll see the allow, reshare, and public links. They are now separated instead of being one. And you'll see this online view-only added at the very, very bottom of our sliding permission scale. So this is where you will set those new settings to make sure you have access to only who needs it. You'll also see here the watermark preview. So this is where I told you can choose to toggle this on or toggle it off. This little checkbox will allow that watermark to be visible on any of those online view-only documents. So you'll be able to see which user was logged in and looking at that document if they were to take a screenshot or try and remove it from the application. Control over the notifications also lives within the policies. So you'll see here, disable workplace desktop upgrade notifications. Again, you can have these policies set pretty granularly so that your IT team might get the updates and notifications, but your sales or marketing team may not. And we'll go through a little bit more of that towards the end of the demo. Folder and project settings you can see here. So I can select the workplace folder location, select the projects to sync, and this will allow both of those to be customized. And whenever you deploy that agent, it'll automatically pick up and place the folders where you have asked or back up the information that you have asked of the system. You can see here the backup folder I just talked about. Again, we can set that admin level of what to back up and how and when. So new capabilities, really exciting for mobile iOS, full Touch ID support. So you can now use not only the password or the 4-digit or 8-digit codes, you can also use the Touch ID fingerprint sensor on iOS. We streamlined the navigation. I'll show you a little bit more of that coming up. Added a new PDF annotation engine, a lot of cool new options we'll talk through, and I'll show you a couple of examples of. One other feature I always say I have a couple favorites in every release, the burst image capture. So if I want to upload 10 or 15 photos I'm taking, maybe at a construction site, I don't have to do it individually. Click one, upload, click the next. I can now select multiple images at a time and update them all at once. AWP content from an AWP link. So in this case, if you're opening your email and somebody had sent you an Autotask Workplace link, it'll now open right in the Autotask Workplace app instead of opening in Safari. If you have those iPads or iPad Pros, we do now have multitasking support, so you can work simultaneously, possibly in your email and your Autotask Workplace app, and no longer have to be limited to one. We actually take advantage of that bigger real estate on those tablets and allow you to use the multitasking. And a lot of other minor enhancements to the application, again, to streamline, make it easier, make it simpler to use. All right, with Android, again, we're getting much closer to parity between the two applications. We've streamlined the navigation consistent with iOS. The new PDF annotation engine and all the same options are available to you. We've added remote access, very, very popular. We can actually get to some of your files and PC files remotely. Server search, so you can search your server for different files and folders within the Android app. And then the move command as well have been added to Android. So to give you an example, you can see here our Soonr Go app. We have our dashboard favorites. And what you're going to see next is the new application, kind of the new interface for using Workplace Mobile. You'll see here on the right-hand side, we have our interface, projects, on device, favorites, recently viewed, recently changed, locked, and public links. We'll dive into a project here. You'll see the folder format. You have a couple documents at the bottom, 2 files. So I have my folders, I have my files all within an actual project from my project list. At the very, very bottom, you'll see it says pending updates. So you still have those icons and that information that carries over from the desktop application so you know what's going on. In this case, I still have a project being synced down. Added a couple really cool tools. When you hold down your finger on the tool button, so you'll see here the pens, the little arrow, the text button, it will pop up this context menu with a bunch of different options for how you want to actually interact with the system. And one of those is the new stamp button. So when you hold down on the picture, where you can either add a picture or you can add what we call these stamps. You can hold the stamp button. There's a bunch of them in here. There's even more than could fit on this screenshot. You see approved, not approved, draft, final, completed, confidential. Lots of different options available. So you can actually stamp these files, stamp these folders, all in that mobile app. Again, remember, you still have mobile editing, everything that existed in the iOS app before. We just added a couple new things. All right, so a couple more UI improvements. One of the things we took on here was to streamline our permissions. So we had built a really in-depth and structured security setup for Autotask Workplace. What we've done with this release is really group them into more logical settings. So it's a lot easier to see, interact, and figure out which policies to apply and when. We've simplified the Workplace desktop menu, make it a lot easier, more consistent with the web UI, so you know what you're accessing and when you're accessing it. Simplified online navigation, easier again to work in the web interface to see what you're working through, what you're working on. And then we've also, as you saw, redid the mobile navigation to make it simpler, more consistent. So what do the policy settings look like today? Well, on the left, you'll see the new layout, and on the right, you'll see the old layout. So in the past, we had password, session, general policies, a lot of very technical names that didn't necessarily tell you what you were looking through. So now we've streamlined to security, password, workplace desktop, workplace mobile. These two, very important. They interact with the desktop agents and the mobile agents. So this is where you can do password requirements, some MDM with workplace mobile, etc. Your online editors, and then your notifications. So we've really laid it out into the structured application. And this is what we're going to use going forward. So as we add new policies, they're going to live within the structure. You can see here under security, we have our whitelist. We have that watermark preview. We're going to go through this again in a little bit in the demo. Everything in one place, all of them easy to understand with little descriptions of what they are. And this can really help you with compliance. So if you're working with any HIPAA organizations that have special requirements or special security settings, you can see what's applied and what needs to be applied. Your password settings, so this has everything to do with password, two-factor auth, failed logins, all live within this one place. So you can see exactly, again, what's applied and what's not. Desktop policy settings, so here we have two new ones that were added that did not exist before. The workplace folder location and what projects to sync. And I'll show you exactly how to set these up so you can know not only how to enforce them, turn them on, but how to set up the projects you want. And then our backup folder as well down below. So you can set those backup paths remotely as an admin. Our mobile policies, again, they've moved together so you can see mobile editing, exporting. All of them live under that workplace mobile so you can set what they can do and how they can access information on their mobile devices. And we have online editing where you can allow the self-configuration. Do you want to restrict cloud accounts? Do you not want them to be able to use the online editors, their Google Docs possibly, or Microsoft Office? And if you do, which ones do you want them to use? Notifications, so you can actually restrict storage emails and welcome emails to admins. So if you want to build everyone to deploy, but don't want them to get those emails just yet, you can actually come right in here, restrict those welcome emails. They won't actually get logins until you're ready to give them to them. So what we're going to do now, we're actually going to go over to the application. We're going to preview the new policy profiles. So I'm going to bring up Autotask Workplace here. This is my personal account. You'll see I'm on my dashboard. The first thing we're going to do is go right to configuration. What you'll notice on configuration are we have the same application we had before: branding, Active Directory, single sign-on, policy profiles. You'll notice on policy profiles that the page is going to look a little different. So we'll do a brand new one here. So we'll do December AWP, and we'll save. And we're just going to go into add policies. So we'll start with security. IP whitelist, again, you can check that on. Public links, we'll turn on the watermark preview. You have your wipe data when it's deleted or disabled. Restrict unlocked project owners, session timeouts, again, all those security settings you're used to today. We have our password policies, expiration, length, must contain letters, must contain digits. You want to reject anything, two-factor auth, all work within the password area. We have our desktop where we can do our workplace folder location, project sync, enable backup. We're going to set backup folders and disable the upgrade notification. So again, a lot of that stuff we just saw in the release notes here, this is being added on and being configurable right from these policies. Workplace mobile, disable mobile editing, enforce authentication. All of those live, again, right within here. And then last but not least, online editing first, where we have our Google Docs, Microsoft, multi-user editing, and then notifications. Restrict storage emails to admin, and restrict welcome emails to admin. So we're going to hit the Done button. It's going to bring us back here. And you'll notice for a lot of these, we have this little manage. So we have the IP address manage. We have the workplace folder location. So I can click on manage, and I can say, for a Windows PC, I want it to go to user desktop. For Mac, maybe I want it to go to documents, desktop, or I can even pick my own path on either of these. Right. You'll see up here some following tokens. These are little tokens that can be used to search users' machines so you can know exactly where to build it within the file structure. Right, so I'm going to put these both in the desktop in this example. And with the Save button, you can also come in here if you want to and change the name of the folder. We'll go to Project Sync next within Manage. And what you'll see here is you can click Add Project. And you can actually come in and pick the projects that you want to sync when this machine is loaded up. So again, it'll automatically take sales leadership, internal use, and product management, and automatically sync those down to a new PC without them having to choose or select anything. We also have our Manage Backup, very similar with the Autotask Workplace folder, where I can actually come in and say, you know, I want to back up desktop, and I'm going to add that path. And I want to back up documents, and I'll add that path. And again, I can do that for Mac and Windows. So when they, again, install that agent, it'll automatically start looking for and back up these files on their desktop and documents. You can still go in the agents and change them or customize them if you have a more unique situation for a user and you don't want to just leave it to the defaults you've set here. We'll hit the Save button. And now all of those are in here. They're all updated. They're all applied. So again, all of them live within the policy profiles. You can see with your granularity, you can have a different set of policy profiles per group. So you can get really, really granular with how you deploy this and how you use it. All right, so one of the other big things we did on this was deployment. So we're going to come into our team, and we're going to go over to our deployment tab. So you saw this in the actual screenshots in the webinar. I'm going to show you it through right now. You'll see this page come up first, deployment is disabled. Okay, and I'm showing this on purpose so you can see all you have to do to actually use these features, just click the enable button. You've now enabled deployment for your organization. It is off by default, so nothing changes unless you want it to. You can always come in here and disable it should you need to. All right, right next to disable, we're going to go to configure. Configure is where you allow deployment automation. So first, we're going to generate a team key. All we have to do here is hit create, and it'll make a team key for us. Really cool. You can copy the link to the clipboard. So if you need to use it or put it into Active Directory, that link is copied for you. Automatically approved devices. You can restrict to certain domains. So I could add in here, autotask.com. I only want automatic approval if they're using a machine tied to our corporate domain. And that notify only selected admins as well. So I come in here and say, I only want myself to know. I don't want anyone else at the company to get information on this. And hit the Save button. So now when I pass that key through, Active Directory, most remote monitoring tools, it'll actually allow that to authenticate, configure, and even build users and get that deployed for you very easily. All right, so we're going to go back to our presentation here. So a couple other changes. We've released a ton of bug fixes with this release, so a lot of stuff came out in this release. I'll show you the release notes in a couple seconds so you know where to go. We removed the folder sync capability from non-admins. So this is one that we had a lot of tickets come through for. For the admins, it still exists where you can do a folder sync to a project not within the Autotask Workplace folder, but we removed that from non-admins. With this release, we've also deprecated our BlackBerry, Windows Mobile, and our Linux agents. So they will no longer be functional with the release. If you want to get our new desktop agents at the conclusion of this webinar, you can go right in to that downloads page, and you'll see here, copy the link or download the agents for both Windows and Mac. And I always like to point out, if you're doing Active Directory, you want to click on this little link down here to install via Active Directory. There's just a different agent that makes it a little bit easier to use. All right, so we've gone through our agenda. We're going to talk next about why we made a lot of these changes and what our goal was with this release of Autotask Workplace, and then we'll turn it over to Q&A. So our benefits, we really want to reduce service complexity. We want to make it easier for you to access the information, the controls, the policy that you need, so you're not managing Autotask Workplace, you're using it and interacting with it, making it easier for our administration teams. We want to make the product easier to use, easier to interact with, easier to use on mobile, really improve satisfaction for our customer base, take advantage of a lot of the security and features that come with the modern operating systems and the modern phones, Touch ID support being a prime example. More control and options for your confidential data. I mean, we all know the reason you use Autotask Workplace is to control, secure your information. That's important. We want to give you more options how to control it, how to digest it, how to interact with it. View only is a really good example where I may need someone to see something. I may need to view something the company has presented, but I don't necessarily need to be able to edit, download, or interact with it in any other way. It's just for information purposes. And we want to really drive to a consistent interface, whether you're using Windows, Mac, Apple smartphone, Android phone, does not matter. We want that consistent UI across our entire installed base. So it's easier to use, easier to understand, and then easier to train your employees. So what are the next steps? We're going to go through a little bit more on the webinar recording. Caroline will come up and help me out with that. You will get an email of the webinar recording, so you can use it for yourselves and send it around your organization. We have a mobile app recorded demo. It is ready. It will be published very shortly, so you can see interactive how to use the new application. We're going to go back to the application here, and I want to point out the release notes. Very, very important. We put a lot of work into these. All you have to do to get to them is click on Help. It'll bring up your Autotask Help page. Has all of our documentation, security architecture guide, really everything. You just click on Release Notes. It'll bring up the release notes for the newest updates, and including historic ones as well. Really, really important. You can see here for Workplace Mobile, I can actually click in and see what were the scribble enhancements, what's the improved Touch ID support, image burst capture, how all of these work. Online help, again, with those release notes, really, really important. I always tell people when we train our staff here at Autotask, the first thing we have them do is read through our online help. And the reason we do is it helps us understand, are we missing any documents, are we anything we could improve. And it's really, really how we train our employees so they know what's documented, how it works, so they can assist you. I really highly recommend our online help. And always your support options, whether you come through a partner, you come direct to Autotask, you should have your contact information. If not, you'll see my details coming up, and you can reach out to me, and I can get you in touch with the correct support. So I'm now going to turn it over to Caroline, and she'll kind of walk us through the last steps. Thank you, everyone, very much for attending, and Caroline, I'm back over to you.
Thank you, Evan. Fantastic job. As always, certainly some great content here. I hope that everyone that's dialed in on the phone is just as excited about this product release as we are. Evan walked you through a lot of the great technical enhancements we've made to the product. We've received feedback from both our direct customers as well as our partners throughout the year, and I can tell you, Evan, certainly proud to be sitting here to say that the team certainly delivered a fantastic release. So thank you for that, not only to streamline the workflow, but also really help keep our customers' files and projects more secure. Certainly ease of use is a big component of this release. So fantastic job. So thank you for that. So I'd like to just follow up on what Evan said just a moment ago. We will be providing a link to the recording of this webinar via email. We'll be sending that out in the next 2 to 3 business days, so keep an eye out for that in your inbox. But I also like to let people know it will be posted out on our website under the resources section, where you can also have access to all of the other recorded webinars that we make available for our other products, as well as industry content that's relevant to you as partners and service providers. So definitely encourage you to go out there and take a look at all the other great content we have available as well. So with that, I think we're certainly at the end of our event for today. I want to thank everyone for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on perhaps a future webinar. So thank you again for joining. Thanks to Evan for presenting, and I wish you all a great day.